Welcome to LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology in the Department of Instrumentation and Control Engineering. In this session, we have to discuss the subject that is instrumentation in agriculture and food processing. I am your instructor, Jayesh Prajapati. So, in this session, we have to discuss the chapter number 6, that is greenhouse effect and instrumentation in the greenhouse. So, in this chapter, we have already discussed the content, that is the greenhouse effect and instrumentation setup in greenhouse. Then witness and respiration measurement and data logging. Then leaf area length and evapotranspiration. Then agrometeorological instrument and weather station. So that is the content that we have to discuss in this chapter. So in our previous video, we have already discussed the greenhouse effect and instrumentation setup in the greenhouse. So in this session, we have to discuss the greenhouse ventilation, heating, okay, and evapotranspiration. So let us start. The greenhouse ventilation. So we know that the ventilation, that means a cooling process, or we have to provide some kind of air. So ventilation reduce inside temperature during sunny rays and supply carbon dioxide, which is a vital to our plant photosynthesis. So we know that as per our photosynthesis process, we have to remove the carbon dioxide and we absorb the oxygen. So that is a ventilation process. Okay. So in the ventilation, we have to reduce the temperature inside the sunny days. The another advantage of ventilation is to remove warm, moist air and replace it with dry air. High humidity is objectionable since it causes a moisture condensation on cool surfaces and tends to increase the occurrence of diseases. Then we can say that some glass houses are ventilated by manually operated ventilator in the roof. This method is usually not satisfactory for ventilating plastic covered houses due to the rapid temperature fluctuation possible. So we know that there are different kind of method for greenhouse ventilation, because whenever we can set an instrumentation in a greenhouse, that means we have to set a some kind of pressure, some kind of temperature and some kind of heating process. So we have to maintain the ventilation, heating and cooling in the greenhouse as per requirement of plant. So we have to make a automatic system. So manually operated system is also available, like manually operated ventilators. So let us see some kind of ventilators that is available. So we can say that the exhaust fan in the end walls. So we can say that the fan in the end wall are the most common method for forced ventilation. So if we know that the exhaust fan fans that can exhaust the heat from this greenhouse, and it is work as a ventilator. So the air enters through the monitored shutter in the winter season, and it is pulled through the greenhouse by the exhaust fan. So that is one of the ventilation method. So if we see the figure for this, then you can see in the figures the motorized air inlet that is on side, okay, in the winter season, that can be entered by using this inlet shutter, and the exhaust fan on the end of this wall that is connected here, that is used to pull out the air from the greenhouse. So that is a method of greenhouse ventilation. Then we know that some kind of natural ventilations are also available. So we can say that some greenhouses can be ventilated using side and ridge vents, which run the full length of house and can be opened as needed to provide the desired temperature. So natural ventilation is also available. If we see, then houses with only side vent depend upon wind pressure for ventilations. The warm air must be allowed to rise through the ridge vent, while colored air entered along the side, and the vent size is important. So some houses having a natural ventilation. So you can see in the figures, we can give a natural ventilation on the side vent and on side window also. Okay, so that is a greenhouse ventilation. That is a natural ventilation. Then the side vent should be about 1/4 the floor area. So some kind of consideration that will be in the natural ventilation. The roof vent should be open above the horizontal position to provide a 60-degree angle to the roof. Most of these vents are manually operated. Okay. Generally, this kind of ventilations are manually operated by these workers. Okay. So that are the one example of natural ventilation. Then heating. So these are the most important topic for a greenhouse instrumentation. So we will discuss in very details what kind of heating, ventilations, some kind of sometimes GTU in exam you have to give the answer for this. Why greenhouse ventilation is important, heating is important. That's why we have discussed this. Then the heating. A good heating system is one of the most important steps for successful plant production. We know that a plant requires some kind of sun rays. Okay, so if sun rays is not available in cold area, then we can plant a greenhouse. So heating is most important step for successful plant production. Suitable energy source include like natural gas, LP gas, fuel, oils, wood, electricity. So that are the sources. By using these sources, we can provide the heat to the greenhouse. Then the cost and availability of these sources will be vary somewhat for one area to another. Conveyance, investment, operating cost, all other consideration we have to consider for this our plant production. So that is a picture for heating. So we know that by using solar heat we can provide heat, but somehow if solar is not available, that time we have to provide the heat by using some furnace, thermal radiation to the sky. Okay, conduction, heat loss if provide, that times we can provide heat to this greenhouse. So that is a some kind of heat loss or gain. That times we have to provide some kind of extra heating to the plant. Okay, so that is one of the process of heating in the greenhouse. Then heat loss from the ground greenhouse usually occur by all this mode of heat transfer like conduction, convection and radiation. So these are the three parameters that can be related to the heating. Now some important question related to greenhouse, that is how does temperature change affect in the greenhouse. So that are the most important questions to this topic. The answer for this is the energy warm the earth surface. As the temperature increase, earth radiate heat energy, means infrared energy, back into the atmosphere. As this energy has a different wavelength to the coming from the sun, some is absorbed by the gases into the atmosphere. So that is a greenhouse effect. We already know that. The gases in the atmosphere such as carbon dioxide trapped heat just like the glass roof of the greenhouse. At night, earth surface cool. Okay, whenever this is a normal process, whenever the sun available. But now when at the night system, sun is not available, that time earth surface cools, release the heat back into the air, but some of the heat is trapped by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Okay, there is another temperature change. So some amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is directly related to temperature of atmosphere. Increased concentration of greenhouse gases increase the temperature of atmosphere, leading to the warming of Earth's surface. So that kind of temperature changes is affect the greenhouse. Means you can see in the greenhouse also temperature changes by the normal our earth process also it can affect the greenhouse. Okay, like greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane, that can affect the greenhouse. Okay, so temperature will be changed. That times it's we have to maintain the temperature as per the requirement of the plant. So we have to control the temperature by using heating and ventilation process. Okay, then how does humidity change effect in greenhouse? Humidity, we know that humidity it can be also affect, means some kind of moisture at the leaf of this plant that can also affect the greenhouse by using humidity, that means vapor. So it can cool the greenhouse. So we know that as plant transpire, the humidity around the saturate leaf with the water vapor. Where relative humidity levels are too high or there is a lack of air circulation, a plant cannot make a water evaporate, means a part of transpiration process, or draw a nutrient from the soil. So that kind of effect will be happen. Then we can say that how we can reduce the humidity. The proper watering and adequate plant spacing, having a well drained floor, warming plant, moving air, ventilating moisture are a way to reduce humidity in a greenhouse. The least expensive method is to keep a greenhouse dry, especially going into the night when temperature is dropped. So at the night temperature will be dropped. At that time we have to ventilate or we have to exhaust moving air to this our greenhouse. So it can humidity will be affect the lift evapotranspiration process. So let us discuss the evapotranspiration process. What is the evapotranspiration process? So let us see the evapotranspiration process. So as per the name of this topic, evapotranspiration, we have to separate this word by using evaporation and transpiration. That is a evapotranspiration. Okay. So if we have the combination of two separate processes, the evaporation and the transpiration, where water is lost on one hand from the soil surface by evaporation and on other hand from the crop by transpiration, is referred to evapotranspiration. Means it is a combination of two processes, evaporation and then transpiration. That is means water from soil surface, that is a we know that is a evaporation. Okay, on the other hand, crop having a transpiration, that is both type evaporation, that is evapotranspiration. Okay, so let us see this by using pictures. You can see whenever the water onto the soil, that means precipitation, that means water into the soil, then water inside this soil, then heat to the ground. Whenever the heat to the ground, that times the evaporation is generated. Okay, then evaporation that can give a lift of this plant, that is transpiration. So it is heat to this air. Okay, that is called evapotranspiration. So at that time solar energy also coming, so that can provide heat to the air. So that is evapotranspiration process. So exactly in this picture you can understand two process, evaporation and transpiration. These two combined, that can happen evapotranspiration. So let us discuss this two process one by one. First of all, evaporation process. The evaporation is a process whereby liquid water is converted into the water vapor, vaporization, and removed from this evaporating surface, means vapor removal. So that is the evaporation process. So we know that is the evaporation. That means whenever the water is inside to this soil surface, that times soil water vapor and removed from the evaporating surface, that is called evaporation. Okay. Water evaporated from varieties of surface like a lake, rivers, pavements, soils, and wet vegetations. Okay, that is a way how water can be evaporated. Then we know that the transpiration process. The transpiration consists of vaporization of liquid water contained in plants tissues and what vapor removal to the atmosphere, crop predominantly lost their water through the stomata. So we know that stomata, that means a lift of this plant that can lose the water vapors. Okay, these are small opening on the plant leaf through which gases and water vapor pass. The water together with some nutrient is taken up the root and transported through this plant. That is a process of transpiration. Then evapotranspiration. So that is a picture of evapotranspiration. We can say that first of all on the soil surface we can say that E, that is a evaporation, then T, that is a transpiration from this lift of this plant, and at the last that is ET, that is evapotranspiration. So we have here we have also write ET0, ETC and ETC adjustment. So we can say that ET0, that is a weather parameters. So ET0, that is a reference evapotranspiration coefficient, ET0. So that is by weather parameters. Then ETC, that is a crop evapotranspiration coefficient under standard condition, that is by crop characteristics. And management and environment factor can affect the evapotranspiration, that can be affect parameters. That can we have case like a CTC adjustment, that is a evapotranspiration, crop evapotranspiration under non-standard condition. So that is ETC adjustment. So let us see this coefficient one by one. Before we have to discuss, we have first discussed the factor affecting the evapotranspiration, the factor that is weather parameters. Radiation, air temperature, humidity, wind speed, that are the weather parameters. The evaporation power of atmosphere is expressed by a reference coefficient of transpiration, evapotranspiration, that is ET0, that is a coefficient. By this is a weather parameters that can affect, so we can say that that is a reference evapotranspiration, ET0. Then crop factor, differences in resistance of transpiration, crop height, crop roughness, reflection, ground cover, crop roofing characteristics, that are the result in different ET levels in different type of crops under identical environmental conditions. So that are the another crop factor. Then we can say that the management and environmental condition, the factors such as the soil salinity, poor land fertility, limited application of fertilizers, then the presence of hard or implementable soil horizons, the absence of control of diseases, and pest and poor soil management may limit to crop development and reduce the evapotranspiration process. So that are the factors. By using these factors, we can consider a three coefficient, that is ET0, ETC and ETC adjustment, that is a reference, then standard condition and under non-standard condition. So that is a three factors that can coefficient that can be coming from this factor affecting the evapotranspiration. So let us discuss this coefficient by using some kind of figures. Let us see. The reference of evapotranspiration, ET0. So in this figure you can see first of all that is a weather parameter. So we can include a climatic change like temperature, wind speed, humidity and radiation, that is given to this grass reference crop. We can consider as a reference crop well watered grass. So that is ET0. So that is a reference crop evapotranspiration. So the evaporation rate from the reference surface not short of water is called a reference crop evapotranspiration, and it is denoted by ET0 that we have already called. It is also introduced to study evaporative demand of atmosphere independently of crop type, crop development and management practice. ET0 value measured or calculated at different location or different season are comparable as they refer to the ETs from same reference surface. The only factor affecting ET0, that is a climatic change. Okay. Then next, that is a crop evapotranspiration under the standard conditions, that is ETC. So we can consider a reference ET0. Then we have include a KC factor, that is well watered, then optimized ergonomical condition. Okay, so that is ETC under standard condition. So we can say that crop evapotranspiration under standard condition refer to the evaporating demand from the crop and grown in large field under optimum soil water, excellent management and environmental condition, and achieve a full production under the given climatic condition. So that is a standard factor, okay, coefficient ETC. Then under non-standard condition, ETC adjustment. So that is by using another factor. For reference, we have take as a KS, and also we have already KC is adjusted, and KS, that is our standard factor, water and environmental stress, that is given. So in this back figure you can see we have in this picture KC factor on the you can see the crop is well managed, okay, and here you can see in this figure the crop having not met management, it having some kind of stress. So we can say that ETC adjustment. So here we can say that due to the optimum crop management and environmental constraint, that it affect the crop growth and limit evapotranspiration. ETC under non-standard condition is generally require some correction. When assessing the ET rate, the additional consideration should be given to the range management practice that act on climatic and crop factor affecting the ET process. Cultivation practices and the types of irrigation method can also affect the crop characteristics or affect the weighting of soils and crop surface. So that are these non-standard conditions that can affect this our evapotranspiration process. So that are some mathematical point of view, these parameters and this coefficient that can discuss here. That is for evaporation process, how factor can be affect climatic change, then non-standard or management, crop management. So that are the most important for better of crop evapotranspiration process. So that is a important topic for greenhouse. Okay. So in this session we have discussed only these things. In the next lecture we will discuss further topics related to this chapter. Okay. Thank you very much.